Hey guys, welcome back to Dislyte. In today's video, I want to go through my top 5 3-star units in the game. I'll go through how to get them because a couple of these you don't get in the standard way. Explain my reasoning, and that's not to say the rest of the 3 stars are bad. I just wanted to narrow down on my favorite 5 3 stars that I think have the most usability throughout the entire game. So let's get into it. Okay, and these won't be in really any particular order. I'm just going to reel off the 5 of them. And the first one being Melanie Medusa. Now, she is an absolute savage. You have to get her from the guild store. So if you want to get her, and this is what I would recommend doing. And for me personally, if we go to club and we jump in here to shop, you can see that we can get her. Now, you can only buy 3 of these per week. You need 6 total to summon her. For me personally, I'm going to keep holding on to all of my my club tokens, and I'm going to get 6 more copies of her so that I can fully max her out. That is what I want to do. Otherwise, you know, we do have XP boosters in there that you might use in the future. Also some summons. So up to you guys, but I'm going to max her out as my first priority because I really like Melanie. So I have summoned her on this account because I did get the 2 weeks worth in, but let's jump in and take a look at her skills first of all and why I reckon she's so good. Now, the first thing is she does have a speed leader skill. Now, it's a speed leader that can be used everywhere. If you get a 6-star with this same leader skill, it will be 30%. So it is reduced at 15%, but really, really nice if you don't have a speed leader that you can use elsewhere. And like I said, it's absolutely splashable, so you can use it anywhere. Then we look at her abilities. So her third skill deals damage equal to 100% of attack to all enemies with a 100% chance, this is max skilled, of reducing their AP by 15%. If the target is debuffed, then they will reduce an extra 15% AP. So if you're attacking debuffed enemies with this, it's going to attack all of them and reduce their AP by 30% with a 100% trigger chance. Now, it still goes into accuracy and resistance check, but the trigger chance is 100%, which is really, really nice because a lot of abilities in this game fall between like 40 to 80%. Having 100% is fantastic. Then we look at her passive. Now, I absolutely love this passive. Each attack reduces the target's AP by 15%. If the target is less than 30 AP, inflict petrification. So every attack is going to do that, but you're already reducing 30% here plus a further 15% here. And then if they fall below 30% at the end of that, you're going to get a petrification. So if you're running her in a team with some other controlling type units, then you're going to reliably get a petrification on the enemy target. And then we have her basic ability. Deals damage equal to 120% of attack with a 75% chance to inflict speed down to the target for 2 turns and a 75% chance to transfer a debuff to the target. Now, the debuff transfer is nice as well, but the big one is you're getting the speed down. So this makes her really useful for slowing enemies because you're reducing their AP. And keep in mind, due to her passive, she will be reducing their AP by 15%, as well as slowing a single target. So she's going to be really useful in things like the tower when it gets really hard and it's going to take a lot longer. Once you clear the first 100 floor tower, you then go into a monthly 50 floor tower, which is actually incredibly hard. So she's going to be really valuable in content like that, also in the cube and stuff like that. Whenever you're fighting a lot of hard enemies, you know, this control type character is going to be fantastic. So you got the speed slow, you got a bunch of reduction, and the other thing on top of that is this passive also applies to a basic attack. So if she basic attacks someone and they fall below 30% AP, she is going to land that petrification, which is essentially a stun for 1 turn. So, you know, when you're playing on manual play is where she's really going to shine for this, because then you can pick the enemy with the low AP bar and then you can hit them with a basic attack. It's going to slow them down, but you're also going to petrify them, which is really nice. The next unit we're looking at is going to be Yeshua. Now, I probably say that name wrong, but I don't know, tough names. Anyway, this chick, she's really amazing. However, you do have to get her from the Ripple dungeons, which means you have to sit there, look at chat, fill your friends list, get in a guild, check those Ripple dungeons, and hopefully proc her. It's the most frustrating thing on earth to get her. Hopefully they fix that. But once you do get her, you're in for a treat, because if we take a look at her skills, this one, she's just a great all-round unit. You will find that, you know, she'll get sort of replaced once you pull a few 5 stars and 4 stars. So some of the really strong ones can sort of, once you got 2 of them, they sort of nullify the need for her. But like for most players, you will get a lot of use out of this character. We have the third skill, which grants attack up and defense up to all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, this is really nice on a 3-turn cooldown. Really great effect. If you have her fast enough and, you know, faster than the rest of your team, then sometimes she can just maintain this the whole time on the rest of the team. If not, you've only got a small window where you don't have the buffs. Then we have her second ability, heals a teammate for 30% of their max health, granting them invincibility and recovery for 1 turn. If the teammate has less than 50% HP, grants an extra recovery buff for 1 turn. Recovery is going to be 15% at the start of each turn. It's a really, really nice ability. That invincibility can be really clutch in certain situations as well. Once again, on manual play, but also on auto, this is going to be valuable. And then just to cap off a really good kit, we get another fantastic ability, which, once again, this is only a 70% chance, but 70% isn't too bad, in my opinion. But you got a 70% chance to get attack down for 2 turns. Really good on bosses, reducing their attack, mitigating the damage. Then you've also got the defense buff, which is mitigating damage. And then you've got heals with invincibility. So she's really amazing for free-to-play players and early game players in bosses, if you can get through and get her from the ripples, which is the biggest issue with this character. Next up is going to be Tang Yun. Now, you probably haven't seen me mention this guy much in my videos because we're not at the stage of needing him. He comes into play in Fafnir, and the reason I'm putting him in here is I feel like depending on how the guild battles work in this game, I think he could be a fantastic unit there as well. Maybe in some real-time arena once we get up to that as well. I'm definitely going to experiment more with him, but for now, Fafnir is the place for him, which is the 3rd dungeon. So everyone's probably a fair way away from running that, but just keep in mind, get this guy to max resonance, and once you start looking at it, you are going to want to use this guy. Now, I think everyone, if you push tower a little bit, you've probably fought against this guy and had him use like 8 attacks in a row against you based on RNG. I really like RNG mechanics. They're just cheesy and fun, and this guy falls into that category. So we'll start with his first skill. He does have an attack leader skill, but you know, everyone's got other attackers for that leader skill anyway. But this is the thing. So Iron Polearm is his basic attack. Deals damage equal to 130% of attack to an enemy with a 30% chance of inflicting stun for 1 turn, and a 30% chance of triggering pursuit through Iron Polearm. So basically 30% chance of doing it again. And then it can trigger off itself. So I've had one attack me like 5 to 8 times, which is really ridiculous. And keep in mind, this has a stun tied into it. So that is his basic attack. Then we have his second ability. Attacks an enemy 2 times, each dealing damage equal to 120% of attack, ignores 40% of the enemy's defense, and has a 50% chance to use Iron Polearm to trigger a pursuit on the target. So you got 240% multiplier that ignores 40% of the enemy's defense, which is really strong in itself. But you've also got a 50% chance when you use this to trigger this ability. Keeping in mind, when you trigger this ability, you have a 30% chance to trigger this ability again. It's a snowball. Then we go on to his third skill. Attacks an enemy 3 times, each attack dealing damage equal to 100% of attack. If a critical hit is triggered, then he can use his Iron Polearm to trigger a pursuit on the target. So this ability, if it crits, he's going to follow it up with this ability, and then this ability can follow up with this ability. So you can see how he works. He is really, really strong in that you can use this one and guarantee yourself an extra attack. So this one's going to be 3 times. This is a 300% multiplier, and if you crit, you're guaranteed to run out another 130% multiplier, which brings it up to like a 430% multiplier. And then this one is a 240% multiplier, but you are ignoring 40% defense, and you have a 50% chance to follow up with this one, and then this one has a 30% chance to follow it up with another one of this one, which is ridiculous. Like I said, he is incredibly strong in my opinion, and I can see him being infuriating in things like guild battles, depending on the format that they use in this game for guild battles. Can't wait to see it because I think he's going to be amazing there. But Fafnir, where you need multiple attacks, he's going to be just absolutely godly. You've got this one, which is the 3 attack, and then you're going to trigger and get a 4th attack with a potential chance to keep triggering. This one is 2 with a 50% chance to trigger, so you can see where the multi-hits are coming. The annoying stunning is going to be the crazy thing in PvP, and I just think he's an absolute beast. Next up, we have Chang Pu. Now, Chang Pu's an interesting one for me because if you have no 4 or 5 star healers, she is just the best healer to pick up. She's absolutely amazing in her kit. But even if you do have 4 and 5 star healers, the thing about Chang Pu, and all 3 stars for that matter, is they're a lot easier to skill up. You get a lot more of the 3 star skillamons Is that what they call them? Yeah, something like that. They're corny names. But you get a lot more 3-star skill ups. So you can get her max skill, and her max skilled with max resonance as well is quite strong compared to a 4 or 5-star healer that doesn't have any skill ups or resonance. And that's what I really like about Chang Pu. It's going to take a while for you to outclass her with some investment into some stronger characters. But even then, she still has some great viability in certain situations. So this one here heals all allies equal to 15% of their max HP plus 100% of her attack and grants the entire team immunity for 2 turns. Now this is something you'll notice, that her healing is based on her attack. The one struggle with her in the early game is you can't, if you're still trying to build her tanky, you don't want to 6-star her very early, so you want to keep her at 5-star, and you want to get her tanky enough to survive bosses and tower and stuff like that, but then you also want to try and squeeze in some attack. So she does make good use of some of the relics that you may pull that maybe attack main stat with like HP and defense and stuff as substats, when normally with attack you're looking for like, your crit rating and crit damage as substats. If you get some with some really tanky stats, she can actually make pretty good use of those ones, which is not many characters like really are ideal for that, but she actually is. Then we move on to her second ability. Heals a teammate equal to 15% of their max health plus 160% of her attack. Each 10% max health lost grants an extra 10% healing. Now this one's really cool because it is on a 2-turn cooldown. So she's got a 3-turn cooldown AoE heal with 2-turn immunity, and then a 2-turn cooldown single target burst heal. It's really nice. Sometimes her AI is a bit annoying though, in that she'll use this ability sometimes she'll use this ability on one enemy that's just a little bit lower than the others, when really she could have topped them up with the AoE. And sometimes she'll use the AoE when one ally... Did I say enemy? I meant ally. Sometimes she'll use the AoE heal when one ally is the only one that really needs healing. So AI is not the greatest, but for manual play, I really do like her. And then we have this ability here, which when you max skill it, you're going to get a 100% chance to reduce enemies' AP by 15%, which is a really nice effect. However, due to the fact that she wants to be tanky, you're normally going to leave her at 5-star, meaning you want HP and defense for that tankiness. You want her to be fast as well so she can keep healing. And then you also want high attack because, you want her to heal for a higher amount. This having a turn gauge reduction, I wouldn't prioritize. This is just me personally. I wouldn't prioritize accuracy just for this. This is one of those things where if it lands, it's a bonus, but don't prioritize it. You really want to prioritize speed, defense, HP, and attack, all the main stats on her, just to get her as tanky, as fast as possible, but also to heal the most that she can. Now, before we move into the final unit that I really want to spotlight, there are a lot of other units that get honorable mentions that are quite decent. Jean over here, really good free-to-play stunner. I just find that there's so many other control units that are just sort of better than her, and like we all get Lucas free to play, who has an AoE stun. He's got the control, the turn bar manipulation and all that, so she sort of gets like instantly outclassed with a free to play unit, but she's not bad in the early game progressing through. I've been using Drew on my free to play account. Drew's an absolute beast for if you don't get a better option, but most people will eventually pull a better option than Drew, but if you have nothing else, he's fantastic. There's a lot of other useful units. Charmers can do some pretty big damage. Lauren here has some niche uses that I'm looking forward to seeing Guild War format, because I think she could be really good there. But the one I'm going to go into is Bernice, or bestowed, if we will. So her kit is one that I absolutely love. I played with her a lot on the soft launch server. I haven't built her on this account yet. Basically, she's a great all-round support, but is going to really excel in Fafnir as well. So let's take a look at the kit. We do have the resist leader. Maybe this might be something that comes into play the odd time to try and resist. Like, I don't think so. I'm never a massive fan of resist, but I feel like there could be strategies that I just haven't opened my mind up to. But her third ability, this one is huge. Grants all allied Espers a shield equal to 22% of her max health for 2 turns and recovery for 2 turns. If the ally is buffed, then grants an extra 30% shield strength on a 3-turn cooldown. This is really nice. So you can already see that this is based off of her max health. So the way you're going to want to play this is you're going to want her fast so she can cycle this through as much as possible, because the more you can cycle it and use it, the more she is going to put the recovery up, which means the more she's going to heal, but also have higher uptime of that shield. So you want her to be fast, and you want her to have a lot of HP to increase the value of that shield. That's very simple. Speed and HP. It's a very simple way to gear someone up. Then we have this ability, attacks an enemy 3 times, each dealing damage equal to 60% of attack with a 50% chance to reduce the target's AP by 15%. Now it's the multi-hit factor of 3 hits in this ability that makes her really strong for Fafnir. You've got 3 hits on this one. Her basic ability has 2 hits, which is really strong for that boss because you want to hit as many times to break that shield. In other places as well, we also have the AP manipulation. So you're going to be able to knock back AP if you're using her as a support in tower or in cube or something like that. You know, you're using her for her shield and sustain. She's a really nice consistent sustain unit if you compare her with, you know, a burst healer or something like that. So then we have this one, which you can select targets and you can try and get some control and slow certain enemies down. Then we have this ability, which is also really nice in every situation. Defense break is always useful. On a basic attack, it's really nice. So with this being on a basic attack, I always like the idea of putting her on a revenge set, or I can't remember, sword avatar, I believe they call it. But yeah, attacks an enemy 3 times. Sorry, this one was 3 times as well. Each dealing damage equal to 40% of attack and a 30% chance of inflicting defense down for 2 turns. Now, it is only a 30% chance, but you do get to try for that 30% chance 3 times. I would much prefer, you know, like a single 80%. I don't know how the math works out on that, but yeah, you know, 30%, hopefully you can land that most of the time. It's I can't remember the exact formula. I can't remember the exact percentage chance of landing it. If someone knows, put it in the comments. But it's not like, you know, 90%. You don't just add them up. But, you know, it's not too bad. It's really nice if you can proc that. Like I said, on a revenge set, it's really nice. Debuffing bosses is awesome, but also debuffing anyone in the tower, especially if you're bringing more single target focused damage. You know, you can narrow down which character you want to kill. You can put the defense break on them, and then you can go ahead and kill them while she's also maintaining that beastie shield along with the recovery. So absolutely fantastic unit. Like I said, those are my top 5. It's not to say the rest are horrible. I just had to pick 5 because I said top 5. So, you know, you got to stick to 5. So that's where we're at. Also, special shout out goes to the Owl. He's got a 20% leader in speed war, in point war. I like speed cleave teams, so he gets a shout out. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.